The sudden collapse of a long history. Birth of a new champion. The legacy and pride that have fallen apart. The age of chaos opens. And the two worlds collide once again. The flags of the Zerg have already engulfed the world. The swarm shows no sign of pulling back. The cataclysmic swirl. Striving endlessly for the summit. The ones who dream to be the best again. Honor and glory are the rights of the champion. Tears and vengeance are the rights of the fallen. This war has already begun. All that's left is the birth of a new protagonist. 2019 WCS Global Finals, Round 16.
Two groups down and two groups to go here for the group stages of the Global Championships here for WCS. As we get into Group C, for one of these players, it's their last Hail Mary to truly try and grab themselves one of the biggest titles on the planet. And for another, it is one awesome potential leap to try and solidify themselves in StarCraft 2 history. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the analysis desk. My name is Kyle Lawrence. To my left-hand side, Tasteless, Pig, Rotterdam. Guys, so far so good. We're two groups in. Yesterday we had the group of death, which really didn't play out like a lot of people really anticipated it going. However, we had quite the results, to say the least. Obviously with Cell and Mario advancing.
But the guys that were eliminated played so well. I mean, time was incredible. I think one of the big takeaways from yesterday was really watch time next year, because the way he handled himself and the strats he brought, it was truly incredible.
Definitely so. Cyril showed a masterclass, Pig, of how to dispatch some of the biggest names in the world.
We may have considered a masterclass. He was a little disappointed. Some mistakes were certainly made. I believe he was tweeting right afterwards.
Sure.
6-0, but he expects more. He expects it to be an even quicker, cleaner 6-0. Goes to show the expectations the champ has for himself. It was a good start to the tournament. Honestly, from our point of view, almost no mistakes from Cyril. It was a really clean group.
Absolutely, and obviously a lot of people a little bit disappointed that they didn't get the Cyril versus Mario fixture. But I think a few people may be disappointed in the stats performance that we had. 0-6 is not what we expected of Stats Rotterdam.
No, we often call him the best Protoss of Legacy of the Void, and he deserves that title because he has been incredibly good over the last few years. It's really hard to pinpoint where it all went wrong. Obviously, his first series was against Cero, and Pig just went over it, a masterclass. And I was actually thinking about it this morning. It's like 2 years ago, this would have been the biggest story ever.
Yes.
And now we just kind of treat it like, yeah, that was a good day by Cero. Like, it's normal, It's normal for a Finnish boy to come to Korea and beat two guys, 3-0, 3-0, move into the quarterfinals. But to go back to stats, I don't know. Like, if I think of stats against Maru, did Stats mess up? Yeah, of course, because he was in very playable positions a couple of times. But what I take away more from that series is how damn well Maru played in TVP, rather than being like, oh, Stats played really bad. I don't think Stats played bad. I just think Maru played great. And unfortunately for Stats, yeah, his good play was not enough.
It's kind of a great era that we're in StarCraft 2 now, where the extraordinary is ordinary here for the global finals. Let's take a look at exactly what happened yesterday, of course, here when it came to Group B as a whole. Just to recap exactly who came through in Group A as well. We had Dark and Sue, the two Zergs there, being able to prevail. And we did start off with arguably the upset of the tournament so far, with Time actually taking out Maru 3-2 yesterday to start things.
Yeah, it was a pretty incredible series here. I got to say, each of these games we saw just how dynamic TVT can be. Coming into this, I'm super excited to see what's going to happen down the road here. In this game, we also saw this proxy, this incredible play here by Stats. Really impressive stuff.
Pick?
Yeah, you know, it was really, I felt like Stats just didn't get a chance to fully get his feet underneath him yesterday. There was a few moments, as Kevin said, where he was in playable positions, it was looking all right, but then things ran away from him very quickly. Of course, I mean, the Baneling run-bys in this game were relentless.
They
it was like
ended.
6 minutes of just non-stop Banelings hitting his worker lines.
Yeah.
He got forced into this desperate push, and Serral lost almost no units in the direct engagement, so it ended up being a very crushing game one for Serral. So for Stats, a little bit of an unfortunate day, but he just wasn't quite able to get on top of his opponents.
I think what was most telling is that Stats often played quite all right in the first 10 minutes of the game, and he got himself in like good spots. But then it's like, okay, now you've got freedom. Tell us what you really want to do. And then he showed up with an army where I'm like, I just don't see this army ever winning the game, but I definitely don't see it winning a fight. And it's almost like he was digging his own grave in a couple of these games with some of the choices he made. Because it wasn't all bad, but it's just, this is not going to cut it for you. And that's kind of what happened.
And then we moved on to Serral versus Time, our WCS circuit winners match here when it came up going against our WCS Koreans. Serral versus Time, unfortunately for Time, it was not close in terms of the 3-0 result that we did see, but Time did show some moments of splendor.
Yeah, it often feels when people have a very close first game against Serral, and this was a very close game. He got himself ahead. We all thought that Time was going to take this first game, and it often feels that if a Terran player plays their heart out in the first match against Serral, they get so close, but they don't get it, that the next two games is only quite lackluster, because it's like they throw everything at him, they are so close to winning, then it slips away, and it's like, all right, I'm just not going to beat this guy, am I?
I just felt like this was such an exhibition of how terrifying Serral is as a player, because I think Time played so well here, but even when Time got an edge, Serral made it look impossible for him to ever get a finisher here. It was an incredible game of catch-up here by Serral.
It was cool to see a more dynamic style on these big maps as well from Serral, fighting from behind with Mutiling Bane, very mobile, and you were seeing Time wanted to put the hurt on him. He was like so eager to get the damage done. He didn't want to let Serral get to the late game. But Serral was adapting a little bit, saying, you know, big maps, I'm playing from behind. Using the Mutiling Bane, there was always a turning point where the Terran would overextend with the drops, he'd shut them down, and suddenly Serral would have absolute map dominance. So I think we'd kind of need to see, if we see more ZVTs against Serral in this tournament, players are going to need to take a step back.
An unlucky few moments here for Serral in this Stats in this series, and again an unexpected fixture with Maru versus Stats in our lower bracket final.
Yeah, this actually hurts me to look at it. It's like you blink into the main base, you fire everything at the Raven, and then because Stats is a good player, he doesn't want to use all 7 Stalkers to fire at the Raven again. So he splits off like 2 Stalkers, and he's like, this is enough. Raven survives with 1 hit. Then he goes for the tank, and again, these guys, they don't want to fire 7 Stalker shots at a tank that is 2 shots away from dying, but then it survived again with 1.
Sure.
That's just so painful to look at, because now that tank fired 3 more times, and it was just... it hurts.
Yeah, that's why I called it the lower bracket final, but whatever. It was our elimination match. Moving on into the deciders match here, Maru versus Time, and often in these kind of group situations, we see the reverse result of what happened in the previous series. It was similar here, but Maru kind of ran away with this one.
I think if we look at the first time these guys played, Time definitely prepared really well and clearly knew how to counter Maru's playstyle, but Maru later on in the day is able to completely adjust here, come out and dominate and win this 3-0. And it was a very impressive showing here. And it shows why Maru has been so successful in the past.
Pig?
Yeah, it was kind of cool to see Time in the first series, when he got an advantage, very decisively would come in with a big spreader Marine tank, try to crush through. In the final series, Maru was always on guard for that. And you saw him shut down these attacks. His tanks were sieged up. Everything was backing each other up. And there were multiple times where Maru would just barely hang on and then take the lead. Likewise, as the series progressed, we saw more and more Doom drops coming in from Time. and they kept getting shut down. Maru, he kind of said, look, Time's just throwing everything at me once he's ahead. He's drowning me in harassment. Maru kind of said, let's play a safer game, a more defensive game, and was able to shut Time out in the long run.
And here are the overall results from yesterday here, with Cyril moving on in first place when it came to the group as a whole, and then Maru being able to recover against Time at the very end of the day. So no meeting of Cyril versus Maru just yet, and if they were to meet later on in the brackets, it would be deep into the bracket as things will continue on. So maybe, we'll see. For now, though, we are moving on into Group C, all importantly here, and it's a very different feel of a group as we do approach this. It's going to be classic Big Gabe, Hero, and Reina taking to the stage. And yesterday, at the end of the day, I did pose the question, will Big Gabe be able to fit in this state in the studio? And I can confirm we readjusted the studio. He is here today to play against Classic, Hero, and Reina. So it's an exciting time.
I'm super hyped for this group here. We got two very different stories here. Classic, the oldest GSL player, and Rainer, the youngest guy in WCS. You know, is Classic going to be able to perform here? He's so accomplished. He's so strong, but in some sense, he's in the twilight of his career as his military service is just around the corner. And then you've got Rainer, who is a prodigy. He's a brilliant player.
Exactly.
He's so good. And he's so young. And I mean, he's just right behind Cyril here as far as non-Korean Zergs go. How is he going to do? I think the future is super bright for this guy. So I'm curious to see these two players, the young and the old, how are they going to perform?
I'm glad you said it. He is the prodigy. He is the one that a lot of people have their eyes on. And right now, Rotterdam, he's kind of on the precipice of greatness here when it comes to StarCraft 2 as a whole.
Yep, but there is one big story coming into today, and that is, can Rainer play as well on a big stage as he does in the WCS circuit? Because he has struggled in GSL versus the world. He has struggled at an IEM Katowice. So a lot of players, or a lot of people in general, look at it today as like, all right, Rainer, this is it. This is what you've been working towards the entire year. And now you got to show it on the biggest stage.
For a lot of people, the kind of wild cards of this group, definitely Hero and Hero Marine. Big Gabe, of course, here, Pig. What do you expect when it comes to their expectations? Obviously, Hero, for me, it's kind of a far cry away from the Prince of IEM that he used to be, but he's still there, he's still threatening.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around for a long time, as you said, the Prince of IEM, because he was winning so many of those tournaments off the back of his exceptional micro and Heart of the Swarm. But as you said, these are players people are sleeping on a little bit. They're saying, oh, we don't expect them to be the favorites in the group, but they're both very dangerous players within their own rights. It's kind of a very different story. You've got Hero, who's won tournaments before. He's dominated on the international stage, and he's struggled to find that consistency and legacy of the Void. The last few years, it's been once a year. He'll have one fantastic tournament, a few other runs which are kind of deep, and a few where he goes out very early because he's got that volatile, aggressive style. So for him, it's can he regain some of that glory of days past? Whereas for Hero Marine, for him, it's can he finally get to this stage? It's been a very slow kind of improvement in his performance, tournament after tournament. And he finds himself at another BlizzCon, another big chance here for him to kind of say, hey, I actually can compete with these guys. I can step up that extra 5-10% in my play to compete with these guys at BlizzCon.
Let's focus a moment here on our first match of the day. It's going to be Classic going up against Big Gabe himself. Classic, Rotterdam, we didn't even know until the very final few moments if he was even going to be here or not.
Yeah, obviously we were in the dark about that for quite some time. So I think in a way you can maybe say that he can even play with a free mind because it's already a blessing that he's here, that he's able to participate in this tournament. In the end, for me, Classic and SAS have always been the two Protosses when it comes to Legacy of the Void that have really stood out. Like I know in Korea we've had a lot of great Protoss players. You think of SAS, you think of SOS, you think of Hero of course, but to me they've always been a little bit more gimmicky, a little more out there when it comes to solid, consistent Protoss play. Stats and Classic were the two guys for me.
How about yourself, Tasteless?
I wonder how Hero Marine's going to perform here. This guy's been really motivated, but he's always been, as far as, and it's kind of weird to say, like the top 16 players in the world, he's at the very end of that, right? But this guy has been working so hard. I think it's going to be tough for him to get out of this group, but let's see what he brings today.
I think the consistency for Hero Marine when it comes to top 8 placements in WCS circuit in 2019 has been commendable. He has attained higher heights in some of the previous tournaments, so maybe in 2018, etc. Pig. But this is a good proving ground here for him on a truly international stage to try and make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's the test that you're, if you get past this one, that's a real good confidence booster, right? I mean, Classic has at times when Maru was dominant in this matchup, we were saying, Classic was the guy who could take him down, and had a few close series with him because Classic's PvT is so exceptional. So if you can take him down as Hero Marine, it would be a huge boon for you going through to the next matches. It's a tough matchup at the moment in terms of how you want to play, and I'm really curious, how predictable is Hero Marine going to be when he goes into this match?
Roddy, thoughts?
My thoughts is that Hero Marine actually had an amazing TVP series just a couple months ago in this very same building. GSL vs. the World, he went up against Trap. Trap is also an absolute monster in that matchup. And he was able to hold his own. He did not win the series, but Artosis went over it multiple times like, Hero Marine played fantastic. And then he even got his revenge in the team match where he went up against Trap again. So I think he has shown us that his TVP is good enough to compete on this level. And I absolutely think he can take at least a couple maps and maybe even the series here against
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It is time to head into that series now here. The first series of Group C. We're going to have Classic going up against Big Gabe here for our first series of the day.